Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into one of the greatest stories ever told, the story of how life makes more life. We're about to go on an incredible journey to understand that spark that keeps every species on Earth going.
So let's jump right in. Every single living thing, from the tiniest microbe to the biggest whale, has one fundamental mission that it shares with everything else. It's the very reason life itself is still around.
So what do you think that mission is? What is the single most important job that every single organism has? It's not about finding food or a place to live, even though those things are obviously important. It's something way bigger.
And the answer is actually really simple: to continue the species. That's it. It's all about making sure that life goes on from one generation to the next. This basic drive is really the engine behind the amazing process we call reproduction.
But how do they pull this off? Well, life is pretty creative. It's actually come up with two totally different but equally successful game plans to get the job done. Let's take a look at these two paths. Okay, so here are the two main strategies. On one side, you've got sexual reproduction. We're calling this the team-up, where two parents mix their genetic material. And on the other side, you have asexual reproduction, the solo act, where just one parent creates a perfect copy of itself. Now, the real kicker with the team-up is genetic variation. By shuffling the genetic deck, you get unique offspring, which gives the whole species a much better shot at surviving big challenges, like a new disease or a changing climate. All right, let's meet our first solo act expert. This little guy is a hydra. And, it doesn't need a partner at all. When it's ready to reproduce, a small bud, like a literal mini-me, just starts growing on its side. Pretty soon, it pops right off and starts a new life as a perfect genetic clone. And here's another solo artist for you, the amoeba. Its method? Even more straightforward. Through a process called binary fission, it literally just splits itself in two. The nucleus divides, the cell divides, and bam, two identical individuals from just one. Super fast and super efficient.
Now that solo act is super fast, right? But the catch is, it just makes clones. If you want variety, you need a different strategy. So let's switch gears and dive into the team-up story. This is the epic tale of sexual reproduction, a journey with two specialized cells on a mission to create a brand new, totally unique individual. Let's meet our heroes.
First up, meet our tiny explorer, the sperm cell. Millions of these things are produced, and each one is a single cell designed for one job. It's got a head packed with genetic instructions and this powerful tail to propel it forward on its incredible quest.
And here is its partner in this mission, the ovum, or what we usually call the egg cell. It's also a single cell, but it's way, way bigger. Think of it as holding the other half of the genetic blueprint and all the supplies needed to kickstart a new life once the journey is complete.
This brings us to the climax, that critical moment, fertilization. It's this insane race where millions of sperm are all swimming towards one single egg. When one finally makes it, their nuclei fuse, combining their genetic info to create a brand new single cell called a zygote. This one cell, this right here, is the very first cell of a new individual. How cool is that? But this epic fusion doesn't always happen in the same kind of place. For mammals and birds, it's an internal quest, happening safely inside the female's body. For many aquatic animals, though, it's an external quest, taking place out in the open water, which is, as you can imagine, a much riskier deal.
And this right here just perfectly shows you the challenge of that external quest. For a frog, the female lays hundreds of unprotected eggs in the water, and the male just releases sperm over them. They're totally vulnerable to predators, currents, you name it. It's a numbers game, plain and simple.
So, whether the quest was internal or external, once fertilization happens, we have a zygote, and that single cell is about to start the most incredible journey of transformation, the development from a single cell into a complete being. So this timeline really shows you that amazing progression, that single-celled zygote. It starts dividing and dividing and dividing, forming a little ball of cells. That structure is now called an embryo, and its cells start to specialize. Then eventually it develops into a fetus, the stage where you can actually recognize all the basic body parts. And for animals with internal fertilization, like us humans, that embryo goes on another little journey. It travels to the uterus and snuggles into the wall. This place becomes its safe haven, its nursery, giving it all the nourishment and protection it needs as it develops. Okay, so the final step of bringing that new life into the world. Well, it also has two main strategies. As you can see, viviparous animals like humans, dogs, and cows give birth to live young. But oviparous animals like chickens, frogs, and butterflies lay eggs. That just means the last stages of development happen outside the mother's body. Now for some animals, the story has this other mind-blowing chapter. The baby that hatches from the egg looks nothing like the adult. Just think about a tadpole. It goes through this complete and radical change. It's like a superhero transformation called metamorphosis to become a frog. And what's so genius about this is that the tadpole and the adult frog live in different places and eat different things. This means the young are competing with the adults for food or space, which is a huge advantage for survival.
All right, you followed the whole story. The solo act, the team up, the different strategies, all those incredible transformations. Now, it's your turn. Let's see if we can put that knowledge to the test with a few challenges.
First one up. We saw both of these stages on our timeline. So what's the real difference between a zygote and a fetus? Think all the way back to the very beginning of the journey.
And the key difference is really this. A zygote is the very beginning, just that one single cell created at fertilization. A fetus, on the other hand, is a much later, multicellular stage where the developing individual has grown so much that you can actually see distinct body parts, like hands and legs.
Okay, challenge number 2. Let's think back to the internal quest versus the external quest. Why the massive difference in the number of eggs? Why do frogs and fish need hundreds, while a hen, which also lays eggs, usually just produces one or a few at a time?
It really all boils down to safety and probability. That external quest for the frog is incredibly dangerous. The eggs are just out in the open, vulnerable to everything. So laying hundreds is a survival strategy. It just increases the odds that at least a few will get fertilized and make it to adulthood. A hen's egg, though, it's fertilized inside and protected by a hard shell. So the investment in just one is way, way safer.
And for our last thought, let's circle all the way back to the beginning. How on earth does a single cell, that zygote, turn into a complex being with bones, muscles, a brain, everything? Well, that process of cell division and specialization is the real magic here. It turns the simplest possible beginning into the most incredible story of all, the story of a new life.